Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Warhammer Warcry for the channel. This series is available early to channel members as a thank you for the support they are willing and able to show the channel. So hello to channel members seeing this about a week for everyone else. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to everyone else also hello, but for those of you that can spare a little extra, again, thank you so much. Today it is going to be the Rotmire Creed versus the Spooky Ghosts again. The Nighthaunts are back with some new units just for fun, and yeah, we're going to be on the spooky nighttime map, and we're going to be drawing from a big stack of potential missions. Yes, I know there is like curated lists of these are the fair ones, and obviously if we use those sometimes we can avoid what happened at one time with the Sylvaneth recently where they won in one turn. But no, honestly the randomness actually kind of amuses me, so we're going to carry on keeping true random. Let's go look at the sides. So here's how the Rotmire Creed is broken up, because you basically have to bring everything you get in the box. It is Dagger, Hammer, Shield, 3-4-3, nothing to do with Halo. In the Dagger, we have their leader, which is the Witherlord. We have one of the Carrion Catchers with the Impaler, is it? Yeah, the Impaler. And then just one of the bog standard Mirefolk outcasts with a Bilewood weapon and shield. In the Hammer, we have the bloated one with the, what are they called? The Rakes? The Rake Claws? I can't remember. Yeah, the Raker Claws. And then 3 of the normal dudes with the bioweapon and shields. And then speaking of the shields, we have the other Carrion Catcher with Impaler and the other 2 Mirefolk. So 3-4-3, broken up as you see them. And here are the Nighthaunts. I think Nighthaunts are actually meant to be more of a horde army, and yet every time it shows up in this series it's always more of an elite force. There's only 5 models broken into Dagger, Hammer, Shield, 2-1-2 from left to right. So in the Dagger is 2 Spirit Hosts. They're really good, I don't know why you wouldn't take them. Then in the Hammer we have the leader, which is, or one of the leaders, or heroes, sorry, the Knight of Shrouds, regular on the channel. And then taking up the other 2 potential hero slots in the Shield are 2, what are they called, Dreadblade Harrows, 235 points each, but exceptionally quick and pretty powerful, roughly on par with the Knight of Shrouds, but on spooky horses. So they're definitely going to have a numbers disadvantage, but in terms of killing power, them plus the Spirit Hosts should have an easier time killing the chaff on the Rotmire Creed side. But of course it all will come down to what the mission is, so let's go randomise that. And here we are, so let's just break this deck somewhere, let's say here, and say this will do nicely as the mission and deployment type. Let's just break this, say, here, and we'll go for that, and we'll see what we have. If it is something we've done, might roll it again, but let's see. So, Cosmic Portents. The largest terrain feature on the battlefield is the site of Cosmic Portents. If multiple terrain features, it could be the site of Cosmic Portents. Stop making me say Cosmic Portents. Randomly determined which is the site. If there are any Realm Shaper engines on the battlefield, one of them must be the site. We don't have that. I do have it. It's in the very large scenery to do pile that gets ignored for most of the day. The battle ends after 4 battle rounds. When the battle ends, the warband that has the most fighters within an inch of the Cosmic Portents site is the winner. If the warbands have the same number of figures within one of the site, the battle is a draw. So the largest terrain feature would be the big bell in the top left corners. That's actually kind of fitting. It's a very spooky looking bell, so it being of Cosmic Portent actually kind of fits. So sure, why not? Let's go with that. It's definitely the highest bit of terrain. Dangerous Rifts. So everyone is starting on the table, and Dagger, Dagger in the middle, Hammer, Shield, Dagger in the middle over there, but the Shield and Hammer are reversed for Attacker, Defender, but other than that it is even. Although whichever side actually rolls off for the attacker is going to have an advantage with their shield starting at the subject of the Cosmic Portents. So we shall roll that off, get everything deployed, and be back after this quick word from my channel sponsor. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. So we're back with deployment done, and the Nighthaunt won the roll-off, chose to be the attacker because that gives them the advantageous position on what is the Cosmic Portents scenery piece, which is the big bell. So anyone within an inch of that by the end of the game counts towards the scoring condition. The 2 Dreadblade Harrows are to your top left, middle top, Spirit Hosts, top right, Knight of Shrouds, and then the Hammer to the bottom left, Dagger, and Shield to the far right for the Rotmire Creed. They've got to clear some ground. They have some ranged attacks though, the Nighthaunts don't really. So we'll see what tactics they choose. Let's go to the dice roll off for turn 1 of 4. So here's how the dice shook out. Rotmire Creed in green dice, Nighthaunts in the black dice, wild dice in red. So the Rotmire Creed had double 1, double 3. They have used their wild die to make a single 6 into a double with a single 5 left over. The Nighthaunts just had a double 6 and then they had a straight with the rest. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, but they opted to give themselves another double, still leaving them with 3 singles though, so they will be taking first activation in round 1. The Nighthaunts got the game started by activating their Knight of Shrouds, and he immediately used that double 4 of theirs for rush to get an extra inch on each movement action. Did 2 of them and just scarpered across the level trying to get to the Cosmic Portent's site. So you can just about see where he ended up. He's a very awkward model because he keeps getting caught on everything, but he's right there, sort of behind the big head in the centre of the map. And also down the far end of the table, the Rotmire Creed's first activation was one of the carrying catchers down here that was part of their shield, and he just moved twice. They only moved 4, that's going to be the Rotmire Creed's big problem. A lot of them are very, very slow, but he got as far as basically the middle there. One of the 2 Spirit Hosts activated and just moved 6 inches down to kind of body block between the scenery there. Didn't move or do anything else with their other action. They are just being, I was going to say a human roadblock, a ghost roadblock. The Mire folk from the dagger of the Rotmire Creed activated, moved up twice towards the centre of the table, and then spent their double 6 on Blowpipe. You pick an enemy fighter visible within 6 inches, you roll 2 dice, and on a 4+, you do half the damage of the value of the dice used, rounding up. So 6s were used, so maximum damage 3. You managed to get 1 through, so 3 damage to the Spirit Hosts. Spirit Hosts have a lot of wounds. It's 25 from memory, 25, 26, so just a scratch. The other Spirit Host moved and has positioned themselves kind of in the way here. You could sort of slip by on the left side there, but certainly not the right, and is just waiting for someone to approach to attack them next turn. The Witherlord activated and moved up twice. He ain't afraid of no ghost, and it got him that far right there. One of the Dreadblade Harrows activated and has chosen violence. They moved 10 inches, so very easy for them to get around basically wherever they want. Can't remember if they have the fly keyword or not, but either way, moved and got into combat with the Witherlord. Had to use both movements because he was about 13 or 13 and a half inches away, so couldn't quite get there even with a rush, and had to use both actions to lock him in combat. And clearly wanting to back up his boss, the other carrying catcher activated, who was part of the dagger, and has moved into that combat that's going to happen there. He's going to help him out, and we'll see who wins in turn 2. Bit hard to get an angle on, but the other Dreadblade Harrow has activated and is just body blocking the other access point to the Cosmic Portent site, and is just waiting. So that is it for the Nighthaunts activations for round 1. We still have this little cluster of 4 here, and 2 on the other end of the table for the Rotmire Creed. They've got a massive numbers advantage. Most of those will just be moves though, so we're just going to do all those at once, and then we'll cover them all at once in a second. Alright, a lot of movement actions later. 5 Mire folk and 1 bloated one. The bloated one has met the other Dreadblade Harrow face to face in combat. One of the Mire folk outcasts outlasts. Outcasts, I always forget what they're called. Either way, has joined in combat there to help him out against the Dreadblade Harrow. Not sure who's going to win that fight. The other 2 Mire folk here though, they are just lurking around this rock here. They're just trying to sneak by to try and get into a scoring position. Obviously they've got an angry Spirit Host there, but they're not locked in combat. There is much more, there's about 2 inches between them. Other than that, the 2 Mire folk who started in the bottom right corner, the last 2 doubles for the Mire folk for the Rotmire rather, were used up for rushes, and that got them both there and there respectively. So there's going to be a big melee, and the ghosts are definitely at a numbers disadvantage, but we'll see if their massive wound and attack pools make up for that, because round 2 is going to be violent. So with that, there is no scoring to cover because it purely matters who's controlling the bit of scenery at the end of the game, so we can just go straight to the dice rolls for the top of turn 2, I think. Top of turn 2, here's how the dice shook out. The Rotmire Creed had a double 3 and a double 2, but they used their wild die to make a triple, leaving them with 2 singles. The Nighthaunts just had a double 4 and they've used it to turn into a triple with their wild die, leaving them 4 singles. They really wanted priority, and that is what they have. And there is a host of, pardon the pun almost, of combats they can choose from, so it's really important now who are they picking and how hard are they hitting. Well, it was time to see what a Dreadblade Harrow could do, and as it turns out, they make up for, or rather, their deficiency for having such good moves and high wound stats, their 25 wounds, is that their damage isn't that great. They do 4 attacks at strength 4 with a 2-4 damage split, and that was going up against a toughness 4 Witherlord, and he didn't do so well. You might notice there's 4 dice there, so you might be thinking, oh, is that just the first set of attacks? No, the first set of attacks had 0 successes. That is the second set of 4 attacks in which there was 1 normal hit through for 2 whole wounds of the 20 that the Witherlord has. So, as far as first impressions go, beyond looking really cool, yeah, the Dreadblade Harrow did not do well there. Well, the Bloated One decided to show the Dreadblade Harrows what it's all about, and he launched attacks with those Raker Claws into the other Dreadblade Harrow, not the one that's activated yet. 5 attacks at strength 4 versus toughness 4 with a 2-5 damage split. Only successes were left behind, that's why there's not enough dice. And first set of attacks got 2 crits, second set got a crit and 2 hits, for a total of 19, that is, because the crits add up to 15, and then 2 normal ones, so yeah, that's 19 of the 25 for that Dreadblade Harrow already gone, just from one dude, which is a little rough. So, got a slightly better angle for over here of the other, well, the Dreadblade Harrow that just got attacked and he activated. He spent their triple as a double in order to use Onslaught, which is one of the universal skills any warband can use. Look at us remembering them for once. It's +1 attack stat, so he was rolling 5 dice across 2 attacks. He went into the Mire Folk because he felt there was a better chance of killing him before damage got through. The dice were not on the Nighthaunt side at all, but 2 normal hits through in the first barrage, 1 normal hit and a crit through on the second, adds up to precisely 10, so exactly enough that this little guy, before he gets to activate, has been removed. So he's bought himself another turn unless one of those ones sneaking around the rocks decide to come and attack him at the back, but there was a non-zero chance if he'd activated, he would have killed him, so I thought try and get rid of someone before he goes. Well, one of those Mirefolk outcasts from around the rock did activate, but did not try and go after the Dreadblade Harrow. Instead, snuck through this gap here with a 4-inch move, and then another 4-inch move, getting him over here. At no point was he within the radius of being stuck in combat with the Spirit Host or the Dreadblade Harrow. That's the joy of being on that tiny base, I guess. The Spirit Host activated, moved into combat with the other Mirefolk outcast who was around the stone there, and attacked him. 6 attacks, only strength 3 though, so looking for 5 since it's everyone in the Rotmire Creed is toughness 4. Only got 1 crit and 1 hit through, and the normal hits only do 1 wound. The crits do 3, so that is 4 of the 10 wounds of this little guy gone, and also he's now locked in combat. In the centre of the table, over by the other Spirit Host, one of the Mirefolk outcasts activated, fired a blow dart with their double, and both were whiffs, unfortunately. Moved into combat, attacked 3 dice strength 3 versus toughness 4 with a 1-4 damage split. A crit was the only thing that went through for 4, putting that Spirit Host up to 7 wounds and locking it in combat. Then, well, not to be outdone, that Spirit Host activated and was like, okay, let's have a stabbing fight. 6 attacks across 2 for a total of 12 dice. First set of 6, 1 success, normal hit for 1 wound. Second though, 2 crits and a normal hit, that's 7. That's still just 8 though of the 10, so he wasn't able to finish the job, unfortunately. They really need that triple, I think, to make them really scary. The Witherlord activated for the Rotmire Creed, the big boss himself there. He spent their triple 3 on lethal injection. It's a thing just he can do. You pick an enemy within an inch, you roll dice equal to the value of the ability, so it's 3 in this case, and for each result that exceeds the toughness of the target, you do 5 damage to them, which is pretty scary. He needed 5s and 6s though, because the Dreadblade Harrows are toughness 4, and none of them came up for him, so nothing there. Then he just attacked twice. He's 4 attacks, strength 4 with a 3-5 damage split. First set of attacks only got 1 normal hit through, second set of attacks only got 1 hit through, so that's still 6 though, so that's 6 wounds to that Dreadblade Harrow. It does seem like the heroes on both sides are kind of letting the sides down. Last activation of the second round for the Nighthaunts was the Knight of Shrouds. He used 2 movement actions in order to get over here and lock that Mirefolk outcast in combat, and is also at the Cosmic Portent bit of scenery. Doesn't matter till the end of the game, but he's just kind of staking his claim right there. So now it's a bunch of activations again for the Rotmire Creed. There'll be a bunch of combat as well, so we'll just do it in turn. And that got started with this Mirefolk outcast just simply attacking the Spirit Host across 2 attacks for a total of 6 dice rolled, needing 5s and 6s. He got 1 normal wound and he crit through for 5 damage, so not terrible. The next bit of combat was this carrying catcher who's helping out the Witherlord. He attacked the Dreadblade Harrow for a total of 6 dice rolled, strength 4 with a 2-5 split. Only managed to get 1 normal wound and a crit through across all those dice. It turns out the dice are failing both sides. That's still another 7 though, taking him up to a total of 13 wounds gone of his 25. The other carrying catcher got into combat with the Spirit Host to help out over here, so just 1 set of 3 attacks. Also managed to get a hit and a crit through, strangely, and put the Spirit Host up to 14 damage of his however many, 30 wounds or something. They've got a lot. And all that left was the 2 Mirefolk outcasts that were kind of roughly in the bottom right of your screen there. One of them has opted to help try and take out this Dreadblade Harrow by joining the combat there, but used up both actions to get there. The other decided to scarper all the way across here and is now just down there. I think he's waiting for the bloated one to finish off the other Dreadblade Harrow and create a nice little path to slip up there and get towards the Cosmic Portents portal. That's everyone activated for the round. Again, there's no scoring until the end of the game, so we can just go straight through to the dice for the penultimate turn. And so for the top of turn 3, the Nighthaunts desperately wanted first activation again. The Rotmire Creed rolled a double 1, they've turned a single 6 into a double, 3 singles left over. A double 2 was turned into a double 1 was turned into a triple 1 for the Nighthaunts. 4 single dice left, so once again they are taking first activation. Let's see if they can achieve more with it this time. So did the first activation get used to more effect than last time? Sort of, I guess. The Spirit Host here activated, spent that triple on Frightful Touch, so until the end of the round, every successful hit they make is actually a crit. That's just as well because across 2 sets of attacks into the carrying catcher, they didn't roll a single crit. But because of Frightful Touch, every 5 counted as 1. First set of 6 attacks only had 1, the second set however had 3, so that is a total of 12 wounds to the carrying catcher who has... Oh, they have 12 wounds! Oh, I must have been looking at the bloated one who has 18. He has that was precisely enough to kill them. Never mind, that was actually more effective than I thought. That was precisely enough. There you go. Okay, so the Spirit Host did do something. Well, that's his turn over. Well, over here the bloated one activated, used up their double 1 for Onslaught to get +1 attack, so he was rolling 6 dice twice. First set of attacks only got 2 normal wounds through. Second set though, 4 normal wounds and a crit. Each of those normal wounds is 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 right there, which is enough to kill him already, I think. But that crit is also throwing in another 5, so that was 17. He already had 19 damage on him of 25, so he only had 6 left. So unfortunately for this Ghost Horsey, he is now banished back to wherever it is he came from. Nagesh's lair, wherever, either way. So that's now this way, nice and clear to run past. The other Spirit Host activated and started stabbing and didn't stop until all movement ceased. He stabbed into the Mirefolk outcast he was engaged with, already had 4 wounds on him. Managed to do well enough, finally a dice roll went in their favour a little bit. He got a crit in 3 hits, so that is 3, 4, 5, 6, which is precisely enough to take him to his 10 wound limit. So he is out of there. With his other action, he then retreated to within an inch of the Cosmic Portents. So he is now counting towards the Nighthaunt's potential victory by being that close. Well, in an effort to certainly be plotting for the final turn, the Mirefolk outcast down here-ish, that was just utterly unengaged, just did 2 movement actions and is gone over there by the bloated one to slip by the gap in the front lines that the bloated one created by killing that Dreadblade Harrow. The alive, well, sort of, Dreadblade Harrow activated and decided to try and just limit the number of potential scoring bodies that the Rotmire Creed will have, so attacked into the Mirefolk outcast. 2 normal hits in his first set of attacks, again looking for 4s because strength 4 versus toughness 4. Second set, got a wound and a crit, so that is 2, 4, 6 right there, and then this is 4 or 5 was it? It was 4. So that was 10 in total. Again, that was precisely enough again, huh? So it was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was precisely enough for the 3rd time this round. I think the dice gods have started to choose someone that they favour over the other. Well, the Witherlord decided to come out and play in regards to what just happened and show up everyone else on the table by just utterly decimating the other Dreadblade Harrow. It isn't just heroes who have cursed dice, I guess, because he used their last double, the double 6, for Onslaught, so he was rolling 5 dice twice. He got 2 hits and a crit, and then 2 hits and a crit. 2 hits and 2 crits, rather, sorry. So the crits on its own, that's 15 wounds right there, and then that was another 12 there. So that was, what, 27? So that's already enough to kill him, let alone the 13 he had on him. So both horses, I'm afraid, have been removed. Last activation of this round was the Knight of Shrouds, who struck into the Mirefolk Outcast he engaged with at the end of the last round. Didn't do super well, 2 normal hits through in his first barrage, 2 in his second barrage, meaning a total of 8 damage of the 10 wounds, so he wasn't quite able to finish him off, and he really needed to try and do the same in the final round, so that's rough. That might be game changing right there actually. So anyway, there's still a couple of the Rotmire Creed to activate, and we'll see where they end up. So of the 2 final activations for the Rotmire Creed, the Carrion Catcher here just moved up twice, getting in a position to score in the final round. He's not currently within an inch though. And then the last Mirefolk Outcast, who's locked in combat with the Spirit Host here, he just struck twice, because why not, managed to get a crit and a hit through for 5 wounds. And that takes us to the end of the penultimate round, so let's go to the dice for the 4th and final turn. So here is the dice for the 4th and final turn. However, there was a Mirefolk Outcast who hadn't activated. It was the one engaged with the Knight of Shrouds that lived, forgot he lived. So he managed to do 1 damage to the Knight of Shrouds across 2 attacks. That's it. That's all he did. Anyway, the Rotmire Creed rolled a double 5. They've turned it into a triple, and they got a double 4. The Nighthaunts got a double 3. They've turned it into a triple, double 1, 2 singles. It came down to a roll off, and the Rotmire Creed won. So they will be taking first activation. So the Witherlord got the final round started, moving close to the Cosmic Portent scenery within an inch of it to count for the victory condition, and that cost both his move actions. He spent their triple, however, on lethal injection, tried to lethally inject the Spirit Host, and rolling 5 dice this time because it was a triple 5 used, only 1 die beat his toughness, so 5 damage to him, taking that Spirit Host to 10. The Knight of Shrouds activated for the Nighthaunts and had a pretty big turn, because you might notice a Horsey has returned. He spent their triple on Spectral Summon. You choose a fighter that's been taken down, you set them up within 3 inches of him. The horses themselves could also have done this incidentally, and you bring them back with only the wounds of the ability used, or the value of the dice used remaining, so he's only got 3 wounds, but he is back, and he is a scoring unit currently. The Knight of Shrouds then struck out at this guy, only got 1 successful die through, but that 2 damage is enough, precisely enough, again, to take him out. He then moved to where you can see him, so he is still within an inch of the Cosmic Portent scenery, and just trying to be a bit of a nuisance, actually, you know. He's deliberately trying to make it difficult to get by, but yeah, he can't, there's still enough space to slip by. And plus, it's just you can't end a movement action within an inch, or you count as being in combat. So they still absolutely could slip by and potentially take out the horse, but that makes things a bit closer overall now that they've got an extra body on the objective. Oh, and just like that, the horse is dead again. Forgot about the Carrion Catcher on this side, so they just moved in. They are within an inch of the Cosmic Portent. Struck out once, got a hit and a crit, so Horsey gone again. The Spirit Host that had been engaged over here struck out with its many stabbing daggers and got 2 crits and a hit through against that Mirefolk, so that's 7, and he only had, 2 left, so he's out of there. Unfortunately for the Spirit Host, even though it has fly, so it was able to hop up and over the scenery, a 6-inch move only got it there, right here, so he is not ending the game in a position where he counts towards scoring, but oh well. So at this point it became clear there is now no way for the Nighthaunts to win, but just to throw dirt in the eye, salt in the wound, the Bloated One moved into combat with the Knight of Shrouds, just swung at him, spent their double on Onslaught to get 5 attacks instead of 4. Their dice for it is there. That is 5 crits and 1 hit. So that is 10, 20, 25, 6, 7. That is 27 damage right there. Actually, does that kill the Knight of Shrouds? I can't remember if he has 30. I think he might only have 25. So he might have just one-shot him if he hadn't already had 1 damage anyway. Oh, he only had 20 wounds. So, yeah, that's pretty rough. There goes the Knight of Shrouds. That leaves the only activation as this guy, who's obviously just going to move into a position where he can be a scoring unit. And that's going to take us to the end of the game. So from this angle, they might not all be entirely visible, but to officially announce it at the end of the game, the Rotmire Creed are the winners. The Witherlord, the Bloated One, the Mirefolk Outcast, and then at the far end of the back side there is a Carrion Catcher, so that's 4, and the only unit left over for the Nighthaunts is the Spirit Host in contact with it for 1. So they had 4 bodies versus 1. Even if the Harrow had survived, that still wouldn't have been quite enough. They were winning the battle in terms of just taking everybody down, but not where it mattered with the objective, as is often the way with Warcry. So we'll be back in a second with some final thoughts. And the final thoughts are basically just, that was a fun one. That was a pretty random one, the Cosmic Portents one. I feel like it would have been more dramatic if it just so happens that the centre of the table was the tallest thing on there. Like, obviously we redo the mission after the table was set up, so there was no way to know. That's part of the fun. But had that been in the dead centre of the table, I think the fighting would have been a lot more intense and it would have been a lot closer. But with this type of mission, the Nighthaunts were at a disadvantage from the off, just sheer numbers wise. It was, what, 10 versus 5, so yeah, 2 to 1. And as it turns out, the Dreadblade Harrows, they're not that great in combat. I'm kind of surprised, but I guess that's to offset the fact they're super, super quick and pretty durable as well. So that must be why. It's a shame they basically do the same damage split as the Night Shroud, so also isn't great in damage. So I guess that does kind of imply you really do want to have a horde army with the Nighthaunts. You want to have lots of people cutting, but it's just a shame their heroes seem so weak compared to even the Witherlord. The Witherlord is a 3-5 split instead of a 2-4 split, but oh well. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you have made it to the end here, I do appreciate you doing so. And again, this is a series that is available to channel members early, as is a lot of videos on the channel. Everything gets made available for the most part to everyone eventually, barring the very rare odd video that isn't. If you can support the channel by becoming a member, I'd greatly appreciate it. It helps keep the lights on and keep the videos coming. Or you could press the thanks button, or just liking, commenting. That all helps with the algorithm as well, which in the long run can help too. Either way, thank you for watching, and we shall see you again in the future. Oh, and if you are interested in picking up Warcry and are outside of Europe, you can pick it up from my channel sponsor, just because Games Workshop doesn't let you import their own products from elsewhere if you're already where they sell them, which is, it's always weird to me that they have that power, but that's a story for another day. Enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time. Ta-ta for now.